Big brother massive present.
Undaunted by the driving rain, a sea of faces awaited at the Palisados airport the arrival of a living legend. To some, he was the King of Kings, the Lion of Judah, even a god. But to most, he was a mild-mannered monarch who had won the respect and admiration of Jamaicans. The air was charged with excitement as anxious, expectant faces searched the skies for the first glimpse of the great silver bird that would bring their hero to Jamaican soil for the first time. Members of a local cult, the Rastafarians, who are easily distinguished by their long beards and unshorn locks, and who worship this figure as a deity, were present in full force. Rousing, boisterous, tumultuous welcome ever given to any visiting or local celebrity, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, Emperor of Ethiopia, arrived. The crowd erupted into a frenzy of rejoicing as they broke through the lines of soldiers and police and surged out onto the tarmac, eager to engulf the emperor with their affection. The ceremonial welcome that was planned had to be abandoned as the avalanche of men, women, and children swept away all semblance of order. Ethiopia, a monarchy on the eastern side of Africa, has been governed since 1930 by Haile Selassie, whom history records as being a direct descendant of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Jamaica was among the places visited by His Imperial Majesty on his tour of the Caribbean area. Huge crowds jostled for choice vantage points all along the route in the hope of seeing the emperor. George VI Park, thousands also awaited his arrival. To the cenotaph, His Imperial Majesty laid a wreath in memory of Jamaicans who gave their lives in both world wars. The tomb of the noted Jamaican patriot Marcus Garvey was also visited by the emperor. royal party next drove to Jamaica House, the official residence of the Prime Minister, the Right Honourable Sir Alexander Bustamante. The Emperor was introduced to Sir Alexander and Lady Bustamante by the acting Prime Minister, the Honourable Donald Sangster. The National Stadium was the scene of the civic welcome extended by the government of Jamaica to His Imperial Majesty. The acting Prime Minister read the address of welcome.
Your Imperial Majesty, I have the great honor to express to you, on behalf of the government and people of Jamaica, a most warm and sincere welcome. This, your first visit to Jamaica, is for us, Your Majesty, a most important and significant event. We have long hoped for this occasion, and your presence with us today is assuredly, Your Majesty, a high point in our history.
Mr. Eustace Bird, one of the two KSAC commissioners, presented the keys of the city to the Emperor. His Imperial Majesty and his party were treated to displays staged by the military and young schoolgirls. The next stop for the royal party was King's House, the official residence of His Excellency the Governor-General, Sir Clifford Campbell. His Imperial Majesty was introduced to many dignitaries and members of the Rastafarian cult in full regalia. The Emperor afterwards presented gold medallions to the Rastafarians. Then it was our turn for gift-giving. At a formal reception at King's House, the government of Jamaica presented gifts to the Emperor and to his grandchildren, who accompanied him on the tour. Flanked by officials of state and the military, he was escorted across the lawns of King's House. There, on a balcony, he settled back to enjoy a Jamaican concert under the stars. Sounding brass and crashing cymbals of massed bands heralded the opening of another session of Parliament at Gordon House. This session would be addressed by His Imperial Majesty. On his arrival, he was escorted to the saluting dais for the playing of the national anthems of Ethiopia and Jamaica. He was then ushered into the council chamber. The Emperor's address to the Assembly and people of Jamaica was in his native Amharic and was translated by a member of his party.
I had always wished to come and visit Jamaica. Now, thank God, this wish of mine has been fulfilled. Upon arrival to Jamaica, I have seen more than I had expected. I have seen the progress of the people, and I have seen their determination to march forward in unity towards greater progress. I have also witnessed personally the extent of the feeling of the Jamaican people to the Ethiopian people. Again, I wish to take this opportunity of expressing my thanks to the government and people of Jamaica for the fraternal reception that was accorded to me.
Among the academic institutions visited by His Imperial Majesty were Jamaica College, the College of Arts, Science and Technology, and Mico College. And here at Mico College, one of Jamaica's oldest teacher training institutions, he was met by the principal, Mr. Glenn Owen. Escorted inside, he was invited to sign the visitor's book. And a gift was presented to him by one of the pupils. The University of the West Indies is one of the institutions of which Jamaicans are justly proud. It covers 650 sprawling acres at the foot of the Long Mountains in St. Andrew, and it has recently been granted full independent status by the University of London. Members of the faculty, student body, and prominent citizens gathered to witness the ceremony in which the honorary degree of Doctor of Laws would be conferred on His Imperial Majesty. Dr. Philip Sherlock, Vice-Chancellor of the University, conferred the degree. The Emperor's reception for the Governor-General and people of Jamaica was held at the Sheraton Kingston Hotel. The atmosphere was cheerful and informal, as Jamaicans from all walks of life chatted and joked together and raised friendly glasses in a toast to the continued health and happiness of His Imperial Majesty. As a personal gift, the Emperor entrusted to the government the funds to erect a school. At the chosen site on Payne Avenue, hundreds gathered to witness the stone-laying ceremony. In appreciation of the Emperor's generosity, the government decided to offer a scholarship to an Ethiopian student tenable at the University of the West Indies. The foundation stone was laid by the emperor himself.
From the conquering land of the God of Judah.
Chanting, placard-bearing Rastafarians swarmed all over the Kingston railway station as they awaited the arrival of the emperor. This was the beginning of a journey by rail across the island to Montego Bay Airport, from which the emperor and his party would depart. The train stopped briefly at Spanish Town, but the vast multitude, carried away by emotion and enthusiasm, broke out in a wild free-for-all in which several persons were injured. Through the countryside, the emperor was treated to glimpses of the Jamaican scenery. His Imperial Majesty made several stops at various towns along the route. Some of these included Denby, Williamsfield, Magotty, and Montpelier. There he met both prominent citizens and humble folk. He also saw something of our rich heritage of folk dancing. Montego Bay, the scene was almost unbelievable. Thousands crammed the streets and lanes and carpeted the rooftops. Many of them were Rastafarians who had come from all over the island to catch a final glimpse of the Lion of Judah. And when he was sighted, there went up a roar like the voice of 10,000 lions. At Montego Bay Airport, His Imperial Majesty was given the military honors that were thwarted on his arrival at the Palisadoes Airport by the overzealous welcome. Here, strong detachments of soldiers and police kept the huge crowds at bay. The time had come for us to say goodbye. The Emperor had spent 3 days with us, yet it seemed but a few fleeting moments. Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, descendant of Solomon and Sheba, had touched the heartstrings of Jamaica as no other stranger had done. He had generated a tidal wave of emotion that had swept the length and breadth of our island and engulfed people with an enthusiasm and affection never before witnessed in the history of Jamaica.
Haile Selassie, Emperor of Ethiopia, rasta, Lion of Judah, and King of Kings. Trinidad and Tobago is honored to receive this distinguished personage. Descendant of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon of Jerusalem, Haile Selassie, the 225th successor to the Ethiopian throne. This historic figure, regal, aristocratic, and humane, has ruled his country for 34 years, bringing the Ethiopian nation its first written constitution in 3,000 years. Our government and people welcomed him humbly but proudly. Religious ties and friendly links between our countries were renewed and forged with the visit of Emperor Haile Selassie and his distinguished party. Trinidad and Tobago salutes Ethiopia. First stop, Arima, and our African visitors, greeted by the mayor and the waiting crowds, had their first impression of Trinidad's indigenous cultural expression when the pulsating beat of the steel bands talked of our common heritage of drums. Sympathetic gesture laid a wreath on the young men of our nation who died for the beliefs he himself has stood for on world platforms. For peace, for justice, for a family of nations. In these critical times, the words of this world figure of peace assume great significance. In his native tongue, Amharic, His Imperial Majesty speaks to our Parliament and nation.
Distinguished members of Parliament, it gives great pleasure to appear before this distinguished assembly and to bring you the fraternal salutations of the Ethiopian people. The peoples of Ethiopia and the Trinidad and Tobago are today joined in a massive and a continuous effort to create for themselves a new and a better way of life. They face many of the same problems. The hopes and aspirations which they share derive from the same essential beliefs in the nature and the destiny of man. It is thus inevitable too that there should exist between these two great peoples the strong and the lasting ties of friendship and understanding. We all know, as representatives of the people, that this is a particularly critical period in the councils of the 20th century. Sectional and divising factors often cause major obstacles to national development in their expanded sense, as narrow national and ideological interests may threaten even national unity and progress. No one today is so foolish to believe that any one nation constitutes a perfect monolith of faith and ideology, nor could anyone wish that there should be such utter unity of thought and aspiration. The systems of government which have sought to impose uniformity of belief have survived briefly and then expired, blinded and weakened by excessive reliance upon the supposed infallibility. The only system of government which can survive is one which is prepared to tolerate essential criticism and which accepts this as useful and in any case inevitable aspects of all social and political relations. The tolerance of essential criticism within the government proceeds from a singular social phrase, that the government exists to serve the people generally. The representatives of peoples and nations can only come together with open and objective minds and willing hearts to engage in dialogue without rigid dogmas and slogans and without violence. Working this way achieves no instant utopia. It may, however, enable us to achieve together what it is possible to achieve, and to move forward steadily, if not always in great haste, with some degree of harmony and mutual understanding. Domestically, we can build strong and happy and resourceful societies. Internationally, we can force the end of oppression of man by man and nation by nation. We can bring about peace, security, and mutual trust which will open the way to the greater human achievement for which the needs of mankind now cry out. Distinguished members of Parliament, permit me to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt gratitude for the reception that was accorded me by the people of Trinidad and by the government and Tobago, which we are going to include in our visit. I hope will serve as an example for strengthening relations among nations that are dedicated to the same essential voice. Thank you.
After the Emperor's call for tolerance and unity, some of our outstanding leaders of the society and their wives were presented. The Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams. Dr. Patrick Solomon, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of External Affairs, and Mrs. Solomon. The Honorable Gerard Montego, Minister of Home Affairs. The Honorable Lionel Robinson, Minister of Agriculture. The Honorable Robert Wallace, Minister of Labour, and Mrs. Wallace. The Honorable Saeed Mohammed, Minister of Works. A momentous and historic occasion in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. At the Port of Spain Town Hall, the Emperor was hailed as friend as he met the councillors and leaders, and the people again gave him a stirring welcome. Our royal visitor viewed an exhibition of our agricultural and industrial products, the produce of our land proudly displayed to His Imperial Majesty and Royal Party. Old ties were affirmed as followers of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church 13 years old in Trinidad witness an unforgettable moment in the history of their belief. warmest welcome was given through our varying cultural roots. Lulu. Both our royal visitors were high in praise of the children's rally All as One, held in their honor. This display of our great cultural heritage began with this legend.
When the earth and the sea together created the world, they quarreled as to its final shape. The sun then intervened and achieved a friendly settlement. To mark the new accord, the sea created its finest pool, and the earth embraced it with the most beautiful islands. On this sea and on these islands, the sun pledged always to shine. To dwell there, the sea from its clearest waters and the earth from its richest clay, modeled a race of men whom the sun baked in the image of the Arawak. From the greenest foliage of the land, the blend of the sea's blue dye touched by the sun's red stab, a bird was made. So fully poised, when moving most, it seemed to stand still. Should any hummingbird be killed,